Now, the talking points memo is on the tariff war latest. We covered this yesterday in great detail. The Democrats and the left are hysterical about the tariffs, but Trump's winning most of these skirmishes. And here are the facts. So Canada has agreed to spend $900 million beefing up the border with the United States to try to prevent fentanyl and other narcotics from being smuggled down here. You have to remember, we don't have that big a migrant problem coming from Canada into the USA. That's all Mexico. But there is a big drug problem because these drugs are sent to the Pacific Coast, Vancouver specifically, very lax on narcotics in Vancouver. And then they come across into the USA. We're talking heroin and fentanyl and all. Vancouver's a beautiful town, but if you go there, it's been ruined by drug addicts. Absolutely destroyed. Because they let these people do whatever they want to do. All right, I've been there, I've seen it. All right, now, Trudeau, who's on his way out, says, oh, we don't want the tariff, the 25%, so whatever you want, President Trump, we're going to give you, and he did. That's what Trump wants. He wants more stringent enforcement at the northern border to stop the narcotics. Now, it's a 30-day pause now on the tariff. Trump wants a better trade deal with the Canadians, and he'll get it. And he's going to get whatever he wants from them. Because again, if the 25% tariff on Canadian goods, their economy blows up. Simple as that. Same thing with Mexico. We went over Mexico yesterday. So Scheinbaum folded in less than an hour and said, okay, yeah, I'll put 100,000 troops on the southern border. Well, why didn't you do that 6 months ago, lady? You knew what was going on. You knew it was destructive not only to the United States, but to your own country. You have these drug cartels amassing billions of dollars, so you can't control them. Why didn't you do it 6 months ago? This is how politics works. Trump had to threaten her to get anything done. Biden didn't care. Absolutely did not care about any of this. And that's why he was a awful, awful president. Man, having a president for 4 years who didn't care about fentanyl or unsupervised migrants, didn't care at all. Can you imagine? That's what that was. Okay, so Trump's got Canada, he's got Mexico, and the tariffs are on pause. Trump will get what he wants. China, nah, that's hard, as I said yesterday. Well, China says, all right, you're going to slap a 10% tariff on our goods coming into the USA. So we're going to put a 15% tariff on you, on all natural gas and coal and whatever else you're sending us as far as energy is concerned. We're slapping 15% on it. And that means the Chinese people won't buy it. They'll buy Iranian oil. All right, they'll buy other stuff. Okay, this is what they're going to do. Now, I assume there'll be deals worked out between Trump and Xi. But there's no lock there because China's economic power is on a par with the United States. We can hurt them, but they can hurt us. And they can also be bellicose in other areas, like propping up Putin. So Trump, that's the big thing for Trump. All right, is China. Can't predict it. Denmark says Greenland's not for sale. Fine. All we need is a lease. Let us get the lithium and other energy that's beneath the permafrost. Let's harvest it. We'll pay you, Copenhagen, and that deal will happen. I'm pretty sure. And then when we get the lease, we can put U.S. military up to protect our security up there, which is what Trump wants, to blunt Putin in the Arctic. Okay. I believe that Denmark deal will come. Today, Donald Trump was with Netanyahu and a lot of the Israeli delegation, D.C. I don't know exactly the minutia of it, but it's about Gaza and Iran. And then late in the afternoon, the president signed a bunch of executive orders, the most important of which is he basically said, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and if you do come up with one, that we're going to, and this is a quote from the executive order, obliterate you. And Trump would. And the mullahs know it. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out. I do know that Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, which is excellent, has people inside Iran watching this nuke thing. So the intel's pretty good. But Trump signed that and said, look, I'm warning you. If we get intel that you have a nuclear weapon, we're going to obliterate your whole country. And that wouldn't take much. The Iranians are very, very vulnerable. I'm hoping that the Iranian people just overthrow these mullahs. I mean, how much more can they take? These Persian people, these are sophisticated people over there. And also, there were a bunch of executive orders signed by the president today that are cutting back funding to the United Nations, which Trump hates. He's not going to pull out, but he's not going to kick a lot of money in. All right. El Salvador. It was fascinating. Now, some of you know that I covered the war in El Salvador in the early 1980s. All right. Fascinating place. Extremely poor. So the guy who runs it is named Nayib Bukele. Okay. And he's a very pro-American guy. He built the biggest prison in Central America. It holds 40,000 inmates because he had to round up MS-13, which, like Mexico, they were trying to take over the Salvadoran government, MS-13. Cartels took over the Mexican government. But this guy, Bukele, said, no, we're not going to let that happen. And he suspended all due process. So he's rounding them up. And the idiot MS-13 people have tattoos that say they're MS-13. You had a tattoo, you're in jail. That's what happened down there. So now El Salvador needs money. They always need money. So nobody goes there. It's beautiful beaches, beautiful black sand beaches, mountains, a really lovely country. All right. But nobody goes because there's chaos. So they have offered El Salvador to take not only criminal migrants that are being deported from the USA, but violent American convicts. They'll take them for money. They want the U.S. will pay them, and El Salvador will warehouse them. Now, I hate to break it to the Trump administration if they're thinking about this, but that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. You can't convict an American and then send them over to a foreign nation to serve a sentence, unless that person also was convicted in El Salvador. Okay, because that violates due process. We still have that here. Don't have it in El Salvador, but we have it here. Okay, but we can send criminal migrants, for example, Cuba, Cuban people who commit crimes here. Well, Cuba's not taking them back. We can send them to El Salvador. Now, all of this basically sends a message to all the gangbangers all over the world. You come here, there's a good chance you're going to wind up in a prison in El Salvador, which you don't want to be there. Not like an American prison. And American prisons are bad. But El Salvadoran prisons? You can imagine. All right. The White House has begun migrant flights to Guantanamo Bay this week. Can't get an exact number, but it's about 20. 20 migrants are sent over to Guantanamo Bay. And that's allowed because it's U.S. territory. We lease it. And it began in 1903. I went over this with you. I've been there twice. That's not a bad place to be incarcerated, Guantanamo Bay. Lovely view of, beautiful view of the Atlantic. Food is good, orderly. The Navy runs it. So if you got a choice between going to San Salvador or Guantanamo Bay, I know where I'm going. Anyway, they're flying criminal migrants to Guantanamo Bay. And Trump says he might put 30,000 of them out there. That'd be pretty excessive. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.